Hi, this is going to be a no bells and whistles houseplant tour. My mic isn't working, my son is at home, so there might be some background noise. It's just going to be me and my phone taking you around my collection, showing you how my plants are doing with zero grow lights and no special humidity in my home. First, we're going to start here on the balcony, then I'm going to take you to my son's room, then the living room, and in the end, I'm going to show you some plants that I'm propagating for sale that are in the common area on our floor. Let's go! Starting off in this corner of the balcony, I have one of my plants that I've had since before I got into plant care. This is a ficus ginseng or bonsai ficus that my mom gave to me, I think the fall of 2022. I've repotted this once since then into this shallower, wider pot, and I'm thinking of doing something more interesting with it because it's not a very interesting plant in itself. It's pretty, but it's not doing much. So I'm thinking I might do a kokedama on this, make kind of a more Japanese style feel. This is my Black Pagoda lipstick plant. It's not super perky, but it has some very nice new growth that came in after I bought it. This is a recent purchase, relatively. I bought this around March, I'm gonna say. I love these amazing backs of the leaves. They're just so gorgeous. And the pattern in the front as well. I love this plant. It's going to look very good in a hanging basket, but I still haven't set up anywhere where I can hang stuff except in my son's room. I'm really excited to transfer this to leca, but I'm still contemplating on how exactly to do that, whether to take propagations from it or try to transition the whole plant. We'll see. I have here part of the Fittonia that I used to make the terrarium with my sister, and I love this plant and I really want to make a terrarium of my own, so I'm keeping this with the hopes of one day making my own terrarium. I have the moss, I have the Fittonia, I have the soil. I need to find some good hardscape, like very nice stones, maybe some dead wood, and then I'll be able to do this. Over here I've got something which is very tiny, but it's so interesting. I got this as an add-on so I can reach this certain amount of money that I needed for my order, and I'm not really into the global green pothos, but I do think because it does better in low light than ones with wider variegation, I can put this just anywhere in my home and it'll do well. So I'm glad I have it. This over here is one of the first plants I transferred to leca. Actually, it was a twig I got from a big plant that was next to the dumpster outside, and I thought, that's such a cute plant, why would anyone throw this away? And I was feeling bad about it, and I thought, well, I can keep this alive in some way. So I took quite a tiny twig. I wouldn't say cutting because I just snapped it off. I made a propagation out of it and kept it in water with the idea of putting it in soil, but then came my idea of transferring stuff to leca in my home, and this got immediately transferred from the propagation jar to leca, and I repotted it since then, and this is how big it is. It's also one of the plants that are, not very flashy, not very interesting for people nowadays, but I am thinking I can bonsai this. So I'm just letting it grow out and grow wild for the moment until it gets a bit bigger and I can see, some potential with some branches that I can train. I can prune in a more traditional bonsai shape. So this is my plan for this one. Here I have my two tiny Tradescantia. This is from my unboxing video that I did, and this is the one I wanted, the Nanook, and this was just a bonus I got, and it's been growing okay. It was a bit smaller when I got it, but it's been growing, and this one has definitely been growing and starting to get offshoots on the sides, so I might have a full pot by the end of the growing season. I might even, take cuttings and propagate it to make it a bit bushier, get it into a bigger pot. I'm not planning to put this in semi-hydro or leca or anything like that, because the one Tradescantia I had before, Zebrina, I tried to grow this in leca and it exploded. It definitely did very well, but there were some issues with root rot over time, so I'm just going to stick to soil with this one. These are my jade propagations. I grow these from leaves. This is one of the first experiments I did on my channel. It was in shorts. I just set some leaves on top of cactus soil and they started growing roots, and then there are tiny leaves. And since then, there were just 3 leaves that propagated. And from them, I've been getting a ton of tiny plants. This one here, this smaller one, is one that I was totally shocked how it started. It was a leaf on my jade plant that was starting to, get a yellow spot in the middle, and I just pulled the leaf off because, it wasn't doing well. And when I turned it over, there was a plant growing from the middle of it. It's so weird, but I just stuck the leaf here in the soil and it started growing. So yeah, that's what I'm doing. And this is just, they grow at different rates in this pot, and when I get a bit too big for it, I just take them out and put them in their separate pots. And I've been growing quite a lot of little jade plants from this pot. Here I have my Easter lily cactus. I'm thinking I got this from my grandma in the fall of 2023, and I repotted this recently because I noticed that the pot it was in, the sides of the soil were surrounded by a thin sheet of roots, so it was pretty root bound in there. So I took it out and got it a bigger pot and some cactus soil. It sits right here on the window. I'm trying to give it the most light I can. It's given me a lot of babies. I've taken some out and I'm propagating them. These are some of the babies. This one is getting pretty big and the roots are starting to come out of the bottom. So I might be transferring these to their own individual pots soon. It's a very slow growing plant, but it's also very cute. So one day when they get a bit bigger, I can list those for sale as well. Next to the cactus, I have my citrus seedling, or a plant I started from seed. It's no longer a seedling, I think. But it doesn't seem to be doing well. The leaves are yellowing. I'll show you in better light. I'll put some B-roll. And I'm guessing this is because all this algae is robbing the plant of its nutrients. People say algae is not that important. It doesn't harm the plant in any way. But I think when it's in too big amounts, it gets to be detrimental to the plant. So what I'm planning to do is soon transfer this to an opaque pot and see how it does, and probably also prune the top because it's growing a bit asymmetrically at the moment. Next to that, I have a little tiny baby that I got just recently. This is a variegated bear paw cactus. I love how fuzzy it is. It's so cute. This is another one I'm not planning to keep in leca because it's a succulent, so I'm guessing I won't have any problems with fungus gnats. It also likes to dry out a bit. I've only watered this once since I got it 3 weeks ago, I'm gonna say, and it's still very firm. Can't wait to see how this one grows. I wonder what kind of growth pattern it has because I've not seen very big ones of these. Right, now we're lower down and here I have some more common plants. This is a calancho I'm growing in leca in a submerged setup, but I'm leaving it to go through a dry cycle just because I feel like this works well with the succulent. I recently pruned this, so some leaves, tiny ones, are starting to come out. I still don't know what color this is because it was a propagation I got from my grandma and it has never flowered for me. So we're going to see. This is a soil propagation of that one. It's not a propagation anymore, it's its own plant, and I've already taken cuttings from this as well because I want it to branch out, and I'm planning to probably sell this around fall when they start getting buds and flowers. This is one of my hoyas. It's an australis, but it's just the regular green one. It took a bit of a hit with some sunnier days and underwatering when I was away to visit my parents. So right now I'm keeping it away from the window. It used to be on my son's window ledge, but I moved it here just because I think it's safer for it. And I think it's been liking living here. And it's got this very long tendril that I'm waiting to get just a bit longer so I can wrap it around and it can still point upwards. This is another one that's still growing in soil for me, but what I am planning to do is take cuttings from it and grow them in leca and probably give this plant away to a family member or friend who I want to get into plants. This is my way of indoctrinating people into the hobby. Next to that is my pink syngonium. It's not looking very good because of some underwatering. I have some dry leaves I need to pick out, but this I'm thinking is a neon robusta, and from what I'm seeing so far it looks to be a more compact growing syngonium, which is wonderful. I would love to grow it like this, and this is another one that's waiting for me to transfer it to leca. This is probably going to be an upcoming video. The leaves when they come out are this very vibrant pink color, and the older ones start getting greener but still have some pink in the veining. It's a really pretty one, and I think it's going to do a lot better in my care in leca because it'll have consistent moisture, which I seem to have lost my ability to tell when a plant needs watering when it's not in leca, except when it's a succulent and I can wait for the pot to dry out completely. And this here is my pot of string of hearts. I repotted this a couple of months ago into a bigger pot. It was just in a plastic nursery pot. I twisted some of the vines around in the pot and used some twist ties, but folded them so they look like those things you use to pin strawberries down into the soil. So I used them like this, and I snipped the vines where the roots started to grow, and now I have quite a lot of new growth on this plant. Look at this tiny one here. It's growing pretty well, I think. I'm going to have a very full pot of this. And I also I gave it a haircut and I propagated some for my friend when I went to see her last month. I wonder how hers are doing. I am going to ask for an update. But I love this pot as well because the color of it, I think, complements the leaves of the plant. The string of hearts also bloomed for me recently, and that was definitely an experience. I've never seen what the blooms look like on this plant, and I was so surprised because they're so weird. If you don't have a string of hearts, just get it because it has the most amazing cute leaves, and the flowers are absolutely literally out of this world. Next to that I have my wax begonia. So this is a very common garden plant here, or container plant for outdoors, but this is another one that has been with me since fall of 2023 because I got this as a cutting for free, and I've been growing this particular plant for, it's been a year and a half, even more now. And it's growing in leca in a self-watering pot. It never stops flowering. I know some people don't like flowering plants, but I think this is such a nice pop of color even in winter. This is called a begonia semperflorens, which means always flowering, and that's what it's doing. It's always flowering. It's become quite big and bushy, and I just love it. Over here, as always, I have some spider plant babies in water. I have so much of these. I don't know what to do with them. Absolutely help me. And down here is the Hoya carnosa I recently repotted and retrellised. I think it might be shocking because at least one vine, the leaves are kind of very papery. It might have died off, I'm not very sure, but the other vines are doing okay, I think. We'll see how it goes. This was a very recent repot, like maybe 2 weeks ago. So we'll see if that was a mistake or not. Then over here I have, this is my smaller aloe, striatula. It's living in a nursery pot inside a cover pot because it's super heavy and tilts. Like, I've put this chopstick here with the idea to keep this upright, but it's still a bit top heavy, and it's very often it just falls over like this. So I will probably have to give it a deeper pot or just let it trail, I don't know. But I already have a big pot of this outdoor in the common area, so I'm not super attached to this plant. I don't know why I'm even keeping it here. I might just get rid of it. But it's one of the first propagations I made of this plant, and it just I didn't find a home for it, and it just stayed with me. Then I have some maranta cuttings that I'm propagating. Next to them is some already potted up maranta propagations. I'm waiting for these leaves to start getting bigger, and then I'm going to list this for sale because I already have a big maranta in my son's room. You're gonna see that later. Back here is a plant I got this year, and it was a wishlist plant for me. This is my white fusion calathea. These taller leaves, and this one as well, these taller leaves were ones that were already on the plant when I got it. It was more like a rescue mission. I got it on clearance from an online seller on Facebook. I just kept it alive, watered it, and not long after I got new shoots coming out. So here is one new rhizome starting. This is another one. It has 3 leaves at the moment, 4 leaves at the moment, and this is another one. So what I'm planning to do with this plant again is to take it out of the soil, take these new rhizomes, put them in water to start getting water roots, and I'm going to try and grow this in leca. Watch out for all of these future projects I'm talking about. And here is my pride and joy, my giant Christmas cactus. Just take it out so I can show you. This thing is huge, and it has been growing for probably 6 years, maybe more, because my grandma gave it to me, and I can't remember if my son was born or not when she gave it to me. If he was born already, this is probably around 6 years old. If he wasn't, then it's older, but wow. I repotted it 3 times. The first one, I put this in this bigger pot because it was in a smaller pot. And after that, the 2 times I repotted it, I just kept it in the same pot and used different soil as I started learning more about plants. So it was first in just some general potting mix. Then I thought to myself, okay, this is a succulent, I have to put it in a succulent mix. So I repotted it in a cactus and succulent mix. And then later I found out this was actually a jungle cactus. So I put it in a more chunky soil mix. So that's what it's living in now. I love this plant when it flowers in wintertime because it's one of the brightest things during the winter. Then at the end of the table here, I have my amazing asparagus fern. It's growing so much. I'm so in love with this plant. I love the whimsical, wispy branches it has. Look at the new growth here. When it first comes out, it sprouts out of the soil, and it definitely looks like an asparagus sprout. It looks like the tip of an asparagus, and then it starts growing bigger. It starts branching out, and then from the branches, these wispy little, I don't know what to call them, leaves, hairs, eyelashes start coming out. It's so dainty. Definitely one of my favorites. Then at the back there is what I think is the plant that started it all for me. It's not the oldest plant I have, but it's the one that ignited my passion for houseplants. There's a leaf here that needs to be pulled out, but whatever. I'm gonna do that later. This is the flamingo flower that my grandma gave me in September of 2023. I got back home and started looking for more information on how to grow this plant, to how to keep it happy and have it flower, because I love those red flowers. I don't care what people say about flowers and houseplants. I love the flowers. So I started looking and then found out about more and more different plants that were related to this and that were not related, and it's just been I'm not gonna say downhill from there, but it's been a roller coaster with these plants. So yeah, this is one of the first plants again that I transferred to Leca because it was one of the first plants that I had. And right now, so it's in the same pot that it's been all this time. It's got quite a lot of roots, and all the roots you see here on this side, there's so many, but this is from an offshoot that's growing. This is another upcoming project, which is going to be unpotting this, separating the pups and repotting it. I'm probably going to separate the pups and keep them in soil, just arid soil, chunky soil mix, and give them away or sell them. I don't know, we'll see. Coming back around to the other side of the window, this is where I keep the moss that left over from making my sister's terrarium. I have some Hoya cuttings propagating in water. This is from my carnosa. This is something fun that I'm trying out. I found lemon balm growing from between the cracks in the tiles in the street in my neighborhood, and I just took a branch off of that and decided to try and propagate it in water, and it grew roots, and now I'm keeping it in the, what do you call this, micro leca. It's tiny leca pebbles, and it's in a no drainage setup for the moment, just in a plastic cup, and for now no fertilizer, but I am going to add fertilizer on the next watering. It smells really nice when you rub the leaves. It smells like lemon. Then these are the two purple passion plants that I got for the end of the year. I think I got them on the 30th of December. And right now they're beheaded because I want them to branch out. I also want to transfer them to leca so I can try growing them that way. And these, if I successfully transfer the top cuttings to leca, I'm going to let these branch out a bit and probably also get rid of them, sell them or gift them or something like that. This is my other kalanchoe. I think this is a different one from the one I showed you earlier. This one flowered for me this last fall and winter. It had very pretty pink flowers. I've got 4 separate plants in this pot of micro leca again, sitting in a reservoir, and I recently chopped it because I wanted to get rid of the flowers that had spent, and now I have new growth coming in and hopefully again have flowers next fall. Another plant that's living on my balcony still is the bird of paradise that I took out of my leca pot and put into chunky soil mix. It's growing a bit slowly. This is the leaf it had started to put out back then, and it's still not fully unfurled, but it is healthy. It is still living, So I'm guessing the transfer back to soil from leca was not super stressful to it, and I've listed this for sale as well. Now we're in my son's room. Excuse all the toys you might see everywhere. But yeah, first I want to start with my hanging plants over there. This is my first spider plant that I got in November of 2023. This is where all my spider babies come from, and it's still full of them, and I don't know what to do with them, but I kind of like this look. It's like a waterfall of leaves. It does dry out super fast though. It's also in leca, and I'm gonna say every 4 or 5 days I fill it up with 300 milligrams of water. So I do think this one needs a repot, but if I do that, I think I'm going to move this to the common area because I want this spot to be taken by something that I appreciate more. Not that I don't appreciate this one, it looks very nice as a filler plant, but it's not my favorite at the moment. Then we have the Maranta. This is my red veins Maranta, the only type I have. And it's filled out so much recently since the beginning of spring. It's covering the whole pot. You can barely see the pot coming out of there. She's the one that I took the cuttings from that are on the balcony. I just snip off some of the vines that look a bit tired and the leaves look a bit not as fresh and vibrant, and I try to make the best of them. This is actually the plant with one of my favorite leaves that I have because I love the very dark satiny green contrasted with the light green and the red veins. I just love that so much. Here on the windowsill I have 4 of my newest Hoyas. This is the latest cuttings I got. It's a Croniana Super Silver. It even had peduncles that had formed buds on them when I got it, but of course the buds blasted because, you know, it's in propagation. It can't support them, but it did root pretty fast. There's some roots over here that are starting to show, and I definitely know there's roots inside because when I tug them, not one of them is budging. So I'm really happy with this one because this is again one of my wish list plants. And I can't wait to see the blooms on it. But I do love the silvery foliage as well. This is actually the reason I love this Hoya, not the blooms so much, but I did find out that the blooms smell nice, so I can't wait for that. Then this is my Calistophylla. I got it as a 4-leaf cutting, I think in the beginning of the year. So it had these 4 leaves, this one, this one, this one, and this one. And everything else is new growth. It did take a while to start growing roots. I was a bit worried that the stem might rot instead of, you know, push out roots, but I did put it in some perlite, and once I saw it was starting to grow roots, I put it in a pot of leca with a very high level of a reservoir, and it did root. Look at all the nice roots that I have. I love this plant. I love these robust cardboardy leaves and the veining. Oh, it's gorgeous. This is probably the biggest leaves on a Hoya that I like, because, you know, I prefer the smaller leafed ones. They are easier to trellis and manage and look nicer just in a pot. But I am very excited to see how this one grows and if it's going to need a trellis soon or not. And here there's another growth point, by the way. This one, it had 2 leaves, but one of the leaves just dried off, probably because I left the water reservoir dry for a bit too long. But I am loving how this plant is growing. It's so amazing. I never thought I'd love a Hoya like this, but I do. Then here is my Hoya Sunrise. This was bought at the same time as the Calistophylla and the next one. And I can't wait to see this one sun stress. So I've got it in the sunniest window possible, which is my son's room. So I'll see how this works out. There were supposed to be growth points here and here, but they seem to have stopped growing and starting to shrivel up, and I wonder why. It does have other growth points, so this is older growth, and I got 2 new growth points here, this and this, and I really love how it's starting to fill out. There's another growth point that's coming in. I don't know how visible this will be for you, but over here it's growing from somewhere at the bottom and it's trying to push its way up through the leca. I hope it does, because I would love to have a very full pot of this, and I am going to put this in a proper pot, because this one for now is again in no drainage, just in a yogurt cup, just until, you know, it starts going, and then I'm going to pot it up. And the last one of my Hoyas has absolutely taken off. So this is again bought at the same time as the Sunrise and the Calistophylla. And look at this. So first, this was the cutting itself, and also this one here. So I got it as one cutting, but I split it in half and tried to propagate it this way. So this one has put out this new vine, which already has a peduncle growing, and another one. I'm not expecting these to flower anytime soon, because it's a pretty new plant. It's very young still, but it's exciting that it does have peduncles. And so this other vine that I propagated has shot off this one. So this plant is doing pretty well, I think. And it sits here on my son's window just because this is the best light and I want to give these as much sun as possible. I know that the Hoya Mathilde, did I say this is a Hoya Mathilde? The Hoya Mathilde needs a bit less light in order to keep the dark green foliage, but for now I'm keeping it here because I want it to grow as fast as possible. Then tangled in there I have again one of the first plants I bought. This is a Haworthia. I'm blanking out on what type of Haworthia this is at the moment, but it's also growing in leca. This was I did this when I was obsessed with trying to grow things in leca, and this one just did pretty well, so I've been keeping it here. I repotted it around Easter time, I'm gonna say. And this one flowers very often. I would say like 3 or 4 times a year I get flower spikes, and a lot of offshoots that I am also propagating at the moment. I would love to get more Haworthias just because I love these transparent parts on them. They're just so beautiful. I do want to get some that have even more of a transparent part to them. They look like some kind of crystals, so I really want to get some of those. Next to that we have my snake plant, which I repotted fairly recently, and I am seeing over here there's going to be another rosette growing, but I think the pot is kind of restraining it, and I don't know, maybe I should have given it a bigger pot or positioned it in a different way. I don't know, but it is very happy in here. I got it with a reservoir and a wick. The leaves are very firm and shiny. It's not a super favorite plant for me, but again, because it interests me more as an experiment, because I'm growing it in leca and it's a more drought tolerant plant, so that's curious. And it does add a bit of interest because it's very spiky. I will probably one day move this from out of the window because I'm keeping it here so it can grow faster, but I would love to have a plant somewhere that does not require too much light, in a spot somewhere that is not very optimal for other plants. Now this one is a plant that I started from a broken off piece of succulents that I found in the grocery store. I love how fuzzy these leaves are. They're not exactly fuzzy, they're very similar to a cat's tongue, kind of rigid but also very soft if you stroke them in a certain direction. This is actually a crassula, but a different type of crassula. I'm going to put the name on the screen for you because I can't remember it off the top of my head. So I've got another one of these because 2 of the leaves I propagated started growing. Next to that, I have another crassula. This is my regular jade plant. It's also sitting in a reservoir of leca, and it's again one of the first plants that I started growing this way, just as an experiment, and it's been doing really well. You can see the roots are not very light, but this is what jade roots normally look like, I've noticed. They're kind of darker, and it's become quite a bushy specimen. I'm also thinking of bonsaiing this one because it's starting to get quite a thick trunk, and I think it's going to look really nice if I gave it a bit of a shape, something more interesting. And because we're getting warmer weather now with more sun, it is starting to sun stress a bit, which I'm also loving. Now I have a propagation tray here. If you remember, in the beginning of spring, I made a video about starting some flowers from seed, and here I have some petunia plants that have managed to survive because I let this tray dry out way too often. I think the portulaca seeds just completely gave up for some reason. The petunia seedlings are still doing okay. You can see some empty spots here because I have transferred some of them to their separate pots, and we're going to see those when we go out into the common area. But these here are some calantro cuttings that I took when I pruned my calantro that I showed you, the one that flowered recently. Then what's left in this window here is my orchids. This is my very first orchid that I ever got. It looks super tiny, and so this was probably 7 or 8 years ago now that I got this. It's a mini phalaenopsis orchid, so it's supposed to be small, but it's really not doing well, and I don't understand what's going. Is it too old now? Maybe it's getting to the end of its life, I don't know, but it did try to flower for me in winter, springtime, and only one of the 2 flowers that I got on the spikes opened. The other one dried off, and this is my fault because I underwatered it. You should never underwater blooming orchids. So yeah, I'm gonna see how this works out. I gave it new substrate recently. I hope it grows more roots and does better. The other thing I might try is to just rehab it in some water, like I did with the one in my last video. Let me show you how that's doing. Ta-da! Here she is. It's only been around 4 days, I think, since I repotted this, but it seems to be okay for now. Nothing new to report except for the leaf that is starting to come out. Looks like it's working on getting out of there. It seems a bit longer than it was when I repotted this, but that might just be my imagination. So yeah, I'll keep you updated on how this one does. Now we're on the floor in what's predominantly my alocasia area. Here I have all the polys that I repotted and the ones that are growing in cups. This is my big mama alocasia poly. It has sprouted another offshoot, and it is working on a new leaf here as well. This is the leaf that unfurled after I repotted her. It's not a super big leaf, but it's healthy and rigid, and I love that. This is the offshoot that I got from the lek pot, and I think it's in trouble because I'm seeing some fungus gnats flying around this pot, and it's kind of wobbly in here. So what I'm guessing happened is that its roots that were used to leca have rotted, and it's starting to put out some new roots. Darn fungus gnats. It's starting to put off some new roots, but it's a slow process. I'm trying to help it along by keeping the substrate relatively moist, and I guess that's not helping with the fungus gnat issue, but it is putting out a new leaf, which makes me feel hopeful that it's on the mend. It lost 2 of its leaves that it had when I repotted it. Actually, all the plants, all the polys that I repotted shocked after the repot. These are the other 2 that were in cups, and I put them in actual pots, and one of them has just started putting out a new leaf. They both shocked and just dropped all of their leaves. And this one is also trying to put out a new leaf, but it definitely had a rough patch. I was hoping I could list these for sale in spring, summer this year, but I don't know if I'll manage to do that. Then the smaller ones that are in cups are doing relatively well. They're always doing well until you try and do something with them, like repot them or, I don't know, move them to a different place, water them with something different. They're kind of picky about everything. But they are putting out new leaves. They look healthy, green and rigid. So I'm not worried about those. Now, who wants to check out what's going on with my alocasia mallow? It's flowering. It only put out like 2 or 3 leaves since I had it, and then it started putting out flowers. I'm a curious plant person, so I am not going to cut these off. I'm just going to let them do their thing. One of them is already open. Can you see that? Does it smell like anything? No, it smells kind of planty. So yeah, it also shocked, I'm guessing because of the change of conditions. It lost a couple of leaves. This one is also losing a leaf. Another thing is, this is the first plant that I saw the spider mites on. So losing the leaves or even flowering might be a reaction to that. So I'm not really sure, but we're going through it, and when it stops flowering, I'm going to try and transfer this to leca. I've got 3 plants here, so I got 3 tries, 3 attempts to make it work. And the last plant here, which I think is the culprit of the spider mites, because look at this leaf. This is a plant I got around the beginning of May, I want to say. It had 2 leaves, they were very droopy. You can see I'm trying to support this one so it stays upright, so it's easier for what's coming out of here to come out. And I did not isolate this one. I just left it here with my other alocasias, trying to, you know, give it a good shot of rehabbing. And I think this is my punishment for doing that. I discovered spider mites on my mallow, and this is actually an area that I'm kind of being wary of at the moment. I'm treating actually all my plants for spider mites so that I don't risk anything, but I do think we're pest free, dare I say. But what's going on here, I have no idea. This came out, and there's another thing in here trying to also come out. So because there are 2, again, I'm guessing it's flower spikes, which would be a bummer, because the first thing I got out of my Micholitziana is going to be flowers. I was hoping for those nice dark velvety leaves, but okay. And the other plant that's in this area is very heavy. Oof. It's my bird of paradise, which I repotted in the spring of this year, I think. This is the leaf that was trying to come out when I repotted it. It came out unfurled, and now I can see there is a new one. coming out. See over here? Not super exciting because it grows pretty slowly and does not size up too much. I'm guessing because it's actually a Strelitzia reginae, which is the smaller bird of paradise, the one with the orange flowers. So it does not size up and does not get as big as the Nikolai, which is good because I have no space for a giant tree in my home. So these were the plants in my son's room. Now let me take you to the living room, mostly the kitchen because that's where the windows are. Okay, we're going into the kitchen now, and this is the most expensive plant I own. It's my Thai constellation monstera. I love this new big leaf. As you can see, I'm growing this crawling in a rectangle pot with leca. I'm using a ribbon here to tie this stem down so the root can grow into the leca faster, because it's starting to pull up a bit from the soil, so maybe it might want to climb, but I'm not gonna let it do that because I don't want to have to support it climbing. But yeah, this is how it's doing, and I did this in January. It was right about here, I'm gonna say. So it was this long and it has grown, and I think I can only have 1 or 2 more leaves before it starts growing out of the rectangle pot. So I'm going to have to think of something, either a longer pot or just let it grow out a bit. I don't know, we'll see what I do. But this is a gorgeous plant. I can't imagine. This is longer than a 30 centimeter leaf, like about a foot. It's one of my favorite plants, I'm not gonna lie. It's not because it's the most expensive, but just because I'm excited every time it grows bigger and bigger leaves with more fenestrations. And look at this creamy variegation here, and the minty one here. Love it. Okay, next plant. This is my white phalaenopsis orchid. I showed it to you in my March favorites, and it still is holding on to these blooms, but something happened to it. I don't know what the heck I did. Probably watered it wrong because it got crown rot, and the only leaf that's left is this one. And I'm so sad because if you've watched my how I revived my orchid video, you would know that it's happened to me a couple of times that a keiki, a baby orchid, pushes out of the main stem of the plant and the mother plant dies off and the keiki takes over. This was a keiki. There was a bigger orchid here, but it didn't make it. It gave birth to a keiki, and then this is the keiki. And I don't know what the heck is wrong. I'm sure I do not let water sit in the crown of the plant. I don't know what happened. Never mind, I'm just admiring the blooms still because they're still here. When they die off, I don't know what I'll do. I'll hope for the best and for another keiki, I guess. Then on this side, I have another future project. This is my Syngonium albo, and it's growing in soil. I got this in November or December of last year. It had some small leaves down here, as small as this one, and all the leaves I got from it are much bigger. I also had like a full moon leaf. I think the first leaf that I got was a full moon. Then I got this half moon, this one, and this is the previous leaf, and this is the latest one. It's still not hardened off completely, so it's not fully white. So my idea for this one is to just chop it up into nodes with the leaves probably, and stick it in leca so it can propagate in wet leca, and then grow it climbing onto a trellis. But I love this variegation. It's so contrasting, and there's some marbling here as well. But yeah, I love all of the types of variegation it gets. Some, you can see here, some minty on dark green, some white on green, marbling, and here the more kind of a sectoral variegation. It's really pretty. Next to it, I'm keeping my jewel orchid, the Ludicea discolor. This thing had such shiny leaves. I just love it so much. It looks better in the dark. I mean, it looks better in indirect light, I guess is what I'm trying to say. These leaves are super velvety, and these lines it has, those pinstripes, are sparkly. And the back of the leaves is dark red. This is just the most gothic plant I own at the moment, and I'm itching to get some more dark leafed plants because I love the vibe. But I also can't wait for this to flower so I can have the contrast of the white flowers against the super dark leaves. This is something that I'm so excited about. This is my Alocasia aslanii that I got unexpectedly while looking through some Facebook groups for plants, and a person was clearing out their prop box and had just dumped a bunch of photos on a post there, and this baby was in there. And I'm like, is that what I think it is? So I messaged the guy and I'm like, is that an aslanii? And he's like, yep. And I'm like, okay, I want this. So, you know, we met and I got it. It was in sphagnum moss, and I just took the sphagnum moss off and stuck it in this cup of leca. It's double cupped at the moment, so I got a cup with drainage, sat in a cup with no drainage so that it can have a reservoir. These are most of the old roots, and here you can see some new roots are growing in. I'm excited about that. And a new leaf is going to come in. Alocasias are one of my favorite genuses, so I can't believe I have one of the more rarer ones. I never even thought I could find this in Bulgaria, but here we are. I guess some people import them. Now on the other side of the kitchen where the sink is, this is our herb garden, which is kind of draining off because it was really droopy yesterday, so I had to water it. It usually sits on my son's window, but the herbs are doing really well. I just have to be more on top of watering this. This is the tallest basil. It has already been harvested once. This is why it's split like this, because I harvested it to make some pizza. I put basil on our pizza, and it's split into 2 branches and is growing like crazy. This is a smaller one which was also harvested, so it's split into 2, but it's kind of small. I've used the parsley to make a dish, so it's got some missing leaves on here which I cut. I had two plants of parsley in here, but one of them didn't make it because I guess the root system was a bit shallower, and in one of the dry spells I inflicted on it, it just didn't make it. And here I've got the chives. I was expecting this to be a thicker plant. I don't know if that makes sense. I guess it might be my watering. But yeah, for now I've used this once. I've cut a few blades of this and used them for, you know, to put on a salad. It was very yummy. Then here we have, I can give you an update on my poinsettia. The roots are amazing. It's still sitting in this small pot. Maybe I need to uppot this because it's getting so big now. Evidence of me letting the water reservoir get dry as usual, but most of it is looking pretty big and green and healthy, so I'm glad about that. Next to it here I have my air plant. I just bought this like 3 weeks ago, and I am not sure if I'm doing things right. I don't know if, because it had some dry tips, so I cut them off. And once a week I dunk this in a bowl of water with a bit of hydroponic fertilizer, and I hope that's what it needs. I don't really know how to judge if it's doing well or not. I'm guessing the red thing is sun stressing. Is that what it is? And there are 3 plants here. I might at some point split them so I can give to some friends. This is a marble queen pothos. It was a cutting I got, a rooted cutting I got from Facebook, from a Facebook group, and I just split the cutting into 3 or 4, I don't remember, and they're now starting to, this was the top cutting. This was the top cutting here. So it's just continuing to grow very happily and beautifully. Could this even be considered a snow queen? Because it's so variegated. I love this plant. So this was the top cutting. This is another cutting. Another one here that's put out 2 growth points. There's one here as well. It's growing really pretty leaves. This one is not as variegated, but it's still so pretty. Then on the windowsill, I have some smaller plants and some propagations. So this is my pink princess marble that I got in my unboxing video. It's not super pink. I mean, the stems are really pink, but the variegation on the leaves kind of fades to a marbly, very pale pink. I don't know if it'll be pinker when it grows, but yeah, this is the pinkest leaf I have. And a new leaf is coming in. So far I've had no trouble with this plant, so I took it out of the soil that it was in. It spent quite a long time in water just to transition it, and I recently potted this up in some leca, and I've had no trouble with this plant at all. It's been pushing out leaves, like probably 3 or 4 leaves already, and none of them are getting stuck. So I don't want to jinx myself, but when do philodendron pink princess leaves start getting stuck in here? Is it when they get their own caterpillars? Because this is still a baby, it doesn't have that, but I don't know. Then this is a propagation vessel. This is actually a vessel that I got as a gift. It had lucky bamboo in it. This was a long time ago. Those bamboo shoots are dead, but I'm using this as propagation vessel at the moment. These are the top cuttings of my purple passion plant. This is a vine that broke off the black pagoda lipstick plant. It's already rooted in there, but I'm still not doing anything about it, so it's just sitting in here. And this is a cutting of a sable blue because I want to grow a pot of this. Here I've got, and yeah, this sable blue is growing. And next to it I got a cup with cuttings from an Adansonii. It was a longer cutting and I just chopped it into smaller ones because I want to start a pot of them. It's gonna be a fuller pot if I start with more cuttings. So yeah, they're going very slowly, but this is the first leaf that I had from these propagations. I do add a drop of hydroponic fertilizer in this water because they've been in here for a long time. They're putting out roots and they're already putting out growth, so yeah, I'm doing that. Next to it, if you've watched some of my shorts or reels on Instagram, you know that a long time ago I had a ZZ leaf. This was probably November of 2023 when I got this leaf. I prop lifted it from our mall. Don't judge. And this is what I have a year and a half later. It's just one shoot. I do have a short where I pot up the leaf with the potato thing on the bottom. This is where it was. The leaf here, you see where that ring is. This is where the leaf was, and this bulbous thing grew out of it, and the leaf died off. But sometime after I got this shoot, so now I have a tiny baby little ZZ plant. Next to it is the other propagation from the crassula that I got as a broken off piece from the supermarket. This is growing pretty well too, so this is just living in a yogurt container, and at some point I'm just going to sell this as well. This is my Madagascar palm that my partner gave me for New Year's. It's grown a little bit. I can't really tell much, but it has grown. It doesn't need a lot of water, so I'm growing it in soil. It's a weird little one. Here I have my bottom cut from my Thai constellation. If you've watched my Thai constellation repot video, you would have seen that I chopped and only used the top cutting to grow horizontally in leca, and this was the bottom cut, which has been sitting in water for the longest time, I mean since January, and it started giving me these two new growth points. So the moment they have their own roots, one of them already does, like here, one of them already does have a root, but the moment, you know, they get bigger and can grow independently, I'm going to take them out. I don't know if I'm going to keep the old roots, but basically I'm just going to pot them up in a chunky soil mix and find new homes for them. I'm so excited about that. Here I have some more propagations. These are the tiny cactus babies from the mama, and some Haworthia babies that I got the last time I repotted mine. They're not super firm and plump at the moment. I watered them yesterday, so I hope they plump up. Here's the vine that I took out of the pot of Carnosa when I repotted and retrellised it. I think it's doing okay in this orchid mix. I'm hoping it's doing okay because I'm soon going to visit my hometown and I want to give this to my friend, and I don't want to gift her something that's going to be declining. Then here I have, so this is a baby poly, and here I have some more corms and some of the leaves of the purple passion plant, which I read could be leaf propagated, so I'm checking that. So I have some more polys popping out, and here I have a corm of the mellow, which kind of was separated from the plant. When I was watering it one day, I noticed it, so I popped it in here with the other corms to propagate. It's just sitting in a, so this is a box that I got with some mushrooms, and this is another one I got with some mushrooms, and I'm just using it as a lid. I'm not taping this up or closing it, you know, trying to lock it in any way. It's just sitting on top like this. It's keeping quite a bit of humidity in there. This is my only prop box except for the one with the corms, and here I have mostly more polys because they're taking over. It's just such a prolific cormer. I don't know what to call it, this plant, but yeah, mostly polys. And here I have my poinsettia. I took 3 cuttings, one of them didn't make it, so I have 2 that they were living in perlite, and I recently potted them up in soil. Some of their roots were starting to rot, so that's why they're not looking their best, but they are alive. I remember maybe I did that video in February where I cut them. This is from one of the corms that I took out of my poly when I was repotting it, and it had roots of its own, so it's sprouted and it's a pretty big leaf, and it's in a big cup because it has a bunch of roots. So I'm going to see if this develops faster than the other corms. My smaller corms are just in tiny yogurt containers that I get for my son with holes in the bottom. I'm just airing this out a little so it's not tightly closed. And here next to the sofa we have our peace lily. It's kind of looking chaotic at the moment. Let me check the reservoir. Yep, it's dry. So maybe it's going to perk up when I give it some water. But the 5 flowers I got when I showed this to you in my March favorites video, they started dying one by one, and now I got just some green flowers. The good thing is it no longer drops pollen on the leaves. That's good, at least, that I don't have to dust this off as often. But yeah, it's a big plant. I need to water it, and that's it for our living room. And this is the common area on our floor. It's a bit echoey here. I'm sorry about that. Here I have my oldest aloe. I repotted it recently because it was getting very tall and falling over. I chopped the main plant, stuck it down into the soil, and these are the pups growing out of it. This is the biggest one. This plant is almost as old as my son. I got it when he was a little baby, maybe 1 or 2 months old. So this plant should be 6.5 years old. Here I have some propagations of the Christmas cactus that are going to be sold probably around Christmas time. These are the hoyas I got in my unboxing video, if you remember. Some more propagations from my aloe, one of the spider plants. These are some jade plants that are going to be sold soon. Some horribly leggy tradescantia. Another one down here. Another tradescantia zebrina. There's just like 3 pots of this here that I need to take care of because they're looking awful. And this is what's left of the spring bulbs that I put in here. I told you I was going to check up on them with you when I'm making the houseplant tour, and they suffered from me underwatering them a lot, and only one of them had flowers and they did not develop very well. I'm just so mad at myself for how I mistreated these, but I don't think I'm going to try spring bulbs again very soon. I don't think it's my thing. Here I've got some of my begonia semperflorens cuttings that I potted up. Some of them are going slower than others. Here's another one. This is my oldest one. There's another one. Some calanchos that I'm propagating. These are the petunia seedlings that I took out of the tray that are already growing very big and are probably going to have some flowers soon. Here you can see a little bud forming. And this is a tradescantia that I'm propagating. These are top cuttings from the scraggling one over there. This I'm probably going to put in this cover pot and sell off in a macrame hanging basket. That's what I'm planning to do with this one. My very good neighbor friend made this shelf for me here. And this is some self-adhesive foil that we got so that the shelf doesn't absorb water when I'm watering these, because the shelf is not made of wood or anything, doesn't have any sort of protection on it. So that's what we're going to do soon. This window is a north-facing window.
The sun sets over there in summer, so this window gets a bit of late afternoon light.
So that's it. The second portion of this video was filmed on a different day. You can see I'm dressed differently because life happens. But thanks for coming over and looking at my plants, and I hope you enjoyed it. I have a very busy schedule until the end of June, so hopefully I can still upload every Wednesday. But if I don't, you will soon have an update of my parents' garden to see how it's doing, and potentially some other travel-y stuff. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up below and subscribe for more content, and I'll see you next time. Bye!